Right guys, so we are doing a little Q&A with my husband Jack. We've got a couple of questions come in over the last few weeks about Jack's diagnosis of testicular cancer, his surgery and his treatment, and living in the Middle East while all this. Why do you feel it's important to share your story?
To raise awareness.
Yeah.
That's the main reason. To help someone else maybe in the same situation as me. And help them through if they are in the same situation as me, to seek help and do something about it, which is what I struggled with at the very beginning.
Okay.
Not knowing where to go, what to do, or who to speak to. So that's the reason behind all this, really.
Just back to the beginning, so...
Where it all started, yeah.
When was this?
It's end of August, beginning of September is when I first noticed it. I don't know exactly when, it just one day I just noticed it wasn't right, that one of them was swollen. When I say one, I mean one of my balls, by the way, in case that wasn't clear.
When you say one was swollen, there was no, did you not have lumps or anything like that? I'm going to ask questions like I'm stupid.
Yeah. No lumps, which is why I didn't react at first, because in my head, testicular cancer was lumps and bumps and stuff like this. It wasn't just completely swollen. That, to me, I just convinced myself that was just bruising or swelling or
your skinny jeans were too tight.
Yeah, I said that was one of my excuses. I said my jeans were too tight. I said I sat on it. I said all sorts to convince myself that it wasn't what it was. I went the first time to a medical centre up the road, had an ultrasound. They were kind of apprehensive, saying, oh, something's there, we don't know what it is, it could be an infection. Here's antibiotics for 2 weeks, come back in 2 weeks and see if the swelling's come down. 2 weeks later, the swelling hadn't come down, but the pain had gone away.
I have a question.
So go ahead.
Did you find it hard to make the appointment for your medical centre to go and actually get help? How long was it before? How long were you feeling this swelling?
Oh yeah, sure, I should have said that.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 weeks I put up with it.
And who did you tell?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody. And that was the worst part, because I was living in fear by myself. Yeah, they were a horrible few weeks.
And what, were you just feeling it and going fuck and feeling it and like shit and then...
Yeah, terrified and just hoping it would go away if I ignored it for long enough. The antibiotics worked. Well, no, sorry, it didn't work, but they took the pain away. But the swelling was still there, if not bigger. So I was kind of hoping, oh, this might clear it, this might clear it up, these are working, I think. But I went back for the ultrasound like they were recommended. And your man was kind of, the guy in the ultrasound said, yeah, it's definitely something. I had to then see a doctor. It's all a bit blurred for me, I think, at that stage.
Okay, so Jack had obviously told me that you had swelling.
Yeah.
You asked me to look at it and you were like, does it look bigger to you and what do you think? And I was like, yeah, it 100% look bigger, and I said you need to go up to the doctor. Then I went up and I had a smear and he was still complaining. Do you remember this?
Yes.
I went up and was like, right, I want to get myself checked. So I went up and had a smear, and I came back and he was like, well, what doctor did you go to? And started asking me then like what the centre was like and stuff. And I was like, you should come up and get that swollen ball of yours checked out. And you made an appointment then, or you went up one of the days, like the next day, and there was no male doctor working and they sent you home because obviously we live in the Middle East.
Yes, and I didn't bother going back then.
And he didn't bother going back. So they sent him home because there was only a female doctor on and she couldn't examine him because we're living in the Middle East and it's male to male, female to female with the doctors. So then you came home and it went on probably for another week.
I forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Went on for another week, and then one day I came home from work and I was sitting here having my breakfast before going to bed. And I was listening to a podcast, Stan Collymoore's podcast. I can't remember what it's called, but he had John Hartson on. Anyone knows football knows John Hartson had cancer. He had it began in his balls and it spread all the way up, and he had in his brain, and he had surgery to move his brain. Everyone knows he's the big scar in his head now. Well, he was talking about his ordeal and how in his playing career, he knew there was something wrong with his. He felt there was lumps and bumps in his balls, and he thought, no, there's no way. I'm an athlete. I'm at the peak of my career. I'm fit. I'm 100%. There's no way there's anything wrong with me. He put it off for a long time, and
years, wasn't it? He put it off like 2 or 3 years.
No, a long time. It was progressively getting worse. He was getting dizzy, fainted, and all sorts of stuff. And eventually, I think his wife made him go to hospital. And it turned out he was riddled, basically. Now he survived, thank God, and he's still going today. But he told his story, and he broke down telling his story and was in tears saying, I wish I'd done something sooner. And his advice to people was, go get yourself checked. Just go do it. And I just stood up there and then, and I went down to the medical centre again and got the second ultrasound, which confirmed, yeah, there was something there. And then it all went pretty fast from there, I think, didn't it?
Yeah. He was forced. I just rang. He was on nights at the time and he was in bed.
I'd called in sick, I think, 2 nights in a row or something.
You'd rang in sick to work. And I just rang and got an appointment and dragged you down. And we went.
We were seen straight away, I think.
It was private, obviously. We didn't have to wait around.
It was very late. It was like 6:30 in the evening we were seen. And he saw us, Egyptian guy. I think he studied in Manchester, hadn't he?
Yeah.
But he just put us at ease straight away and said, look, let's have a look. And he did a physical exam. I don't think he said much after that. He then said we'll need to do an ultrasound to see 100% and also to do full bloods.
But he said to you though that when I do an ultrasound, he said 99% of the time I can tell whether it's an infection or if it's a mass or if it's cancer. But he was like, we can't confirm it until a biopsy is done, but we'd need to go in and remove if it was anything. So he said, look, I can more than likely 99% tell you that I'm not going to go in and cut it unless we really need to remove what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we did the full blood count CBC.
No.
No?
We went down, we done the ultrasound in the private hospital, and we were still in the hospital, and after the scan we had to go for the bloods. So we went in, done the scan, and then we were going to the bloods section, and when we were queuing for the bloods and waiting to be called in, Jack's phone rang and it was the doctor, and he had already got the ultrasound results sent up to his office, and he said, are you still in the building? And we said yes, and he said, can you come up to my office straight away? And the two of us shit ourselves, and we hadn't even done the bloods yet. So we went up to the office, he was sitting waiting, he goes, I've got the ultrasound.
He was so calm saying this.
So calm.
If this was a thing, it just kind of put me at ease to say, yes, I suspect it's testicular cancer, it has to come out.
Yeah, well no, he said, I need to confirm there's something there, definitely. It's not, he didn't think it was an infection. He said there's some sort of mass shadowing or something, he called it, or something like that. And he said, we need to do a biopsy on it, and the only way to do that is to remove the testicle and do the biopsy. But
yeah, because you can't do the biopsy in the ball, because if you go inside it, it's the risk of spreading it around, so it has to come out to do the test, to the biopsy.
So obviously then the two of us were like, okay, so when can we do, remember we were like, when can we do the, by when can we do the removal?
Yeah, I was thinking say a week or two, and he goes the next morning.
Tomorrow, can you come in tomorrow 8 a.m? And we were just like, oh my God. And I think I was just like, yeah, just book it. Obviously it wasn't my testicle, so I was like, yeah, book us in. But how did you feel about that?
I felt relief. I just felt such relief from it, to know I have an answer, know what's wrong, it's been sorted basically. It was a strange feeling.
Just want to ask a question for lads that would be a little bit nervous maybe going and getting themselves checked. What's a procedure like to be checked? So tell me, I actually would like to know like what they do. Like, do they fucking juggle them around, or like what is a procedure like?
I know for when you're doing it yourself, you get kind of between the thumb and the fingers, and you kind of roll it around, and just to feel it's spherical, what's the word, like just consistently round. You're feeling for lumps or bumps or anything that's risen and hard. And it's the same thing really when the doctor does it. But they also kind of check around the
your groin
around the groin, checking the lymph nodes and stuff like this, and they also check around the above the kind of lower abdomen area as well. But mainly the balls just kind of roll around, and they have a firmer feel than you do yourself kind of thing, but it's the same kind of idea.
Were you uncomfortable?
Yeah.
How long did it last?
A couple of seconds. They can tell quick enough feelings, I think, like.
So, and did you feel awkward at all? Like, First few times maybe awkward, or like once it's done, then just like what was I worried about?
I think no, the ultrasound the first time was weird because you're covered in this
Jelly.
kind of jelly stuff. It's fine because you're being checked for something important. Like it's not something to be embarrassed about. Like and even then when they were kind of saying, "Oh, we can't because it's only a female doctor," I was like, "I don't care." You know, female male,
Sure you don't.
I just want to get it checked. It doesn't matter who's checking me or what they're doing or how they're doing it. It's just these things are more important. So no, I wouldn't. But if anyone's embarrassed by that or uncomfortable, don't be. I mean, the doctors felt thousands of balls, all different shapes and sizes. So, but no, it's not something to be.
But it's not something to be worried about, embarrassed about. You felt like the examination was just over in a second, easy peasy, very comfortable. The doctors know what they're doing. It's their job. Yeah.
Nothing to be apprehensive about, or it wouldn't be a reason to put it off. It shouldn't be a reason to put it off. So.
And if there's anyone out there that has something and they're worried, like what would you say to them? Like that they've left, like they felt something a bit funny, are hoping it's going to go away, and are just haven't told their partner or their mom or their sister, or you know, like you might have someone that you feel like you might be able to say, I felt something a bit funny there. Like how would you encourage them to communicate with someone that they trust to kind of maybe give them a little bit of advice on what to do?
Just be open about it, talk about it, tell someone close to you what you're going through, and just be honest, because your health is your wealth and it's more important than anything else.
Or even the lads, like you could have a chat with the lads and be like,
say it to a mate.
yeah, do you regularly check?
Have you had this before, and what do you think I should do? And if someone comes to you in that situation, the stock answer is go see a doctor.
Yeah, support them obviously.
Go get checked. Support them, of course. Make them feel comfortable about it. It's normal for these things to happen. But just go get checked. It's the stock answer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And would you say with your group of mates it's a little bit more open topic now since you have been through it? Like
I'd imagine so. I'm not with them now, obviously being in a different country, but most of them are talking to me openly about it. So
yeah,
it shouldn't be a taboo. It shouldn't be something you're afraid to talk about amongst mates or anything. So hopefully this kind of thing here we can break down that a bit. So
yeah,
don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to get checked. That's the most important thing. I did it.
No, and you had great support with work actually. And
yes. They sent in the hotel nurse fly.
They're after my tomato plants, little fruit flies.
The hotel nurse came in that morning to support me and to see what I needed or what was happening to get the full story, because obviously I told work late the night before, so they were kind of blindsided by the whole thing, like to think suddenly this guy's calling in sick to suddenly he's going in for surgery the next morning. So
Jack never told anyone in work that he wasn't feeling well or anything really. Like he rang in sick, but I don't think he said what it was.
No. Not sure how.
So all of a sudden he just rang them and was like, I got in to get my ball removed tomorrow. They think I have testicular cancer. And they were just like, what the hell? And then they sent their own, so Jack works for Marriott, and they sent their own nurse out to us that morning to make sure we were alright, out to the private hospital, which was lovely.
She wants to talk to the doctor and
Nurse Nem, yeah. She spoke to the doctor and made sure I was okay. She brought us 2 bottles of water. She was asking Jack, could she see all your information that they had given us as well and everything, wasn't it?
She didn't know at all what was going on first. Like, so what's happening? I was like, yeah, I'm going in for surgery.
That was brilliant, obviously, that we had a bit of support from her, because we were completely alone. Like we had no family here.
Yeah, so that was nice. It was a nice touch.
And Liz, is he going to be alright, like physically, mentally, like?
Yeah, I hadn't time to process any of that, to be honest. I was just focused on getting the surgery done. I never really thought about it. But when they were telling me about the surgery, I never knew what it was going to be like. But they, obviously you can't see me now, but they do an incision kind of on the pubic area, either depending on which side you're going to have removed. But on mine it was the left. And they do the incision, and they said they go in, go down, and like snip everything. This probably sounds horrific to people. They snip everything and kind of pull the ball up and out. That sounded very weird to me, but yeah, I didn't know how the procedure worked, like. So
Jack's scar like is probably about that size, and stand up, don't show it, but just show where it is, just so people have an idea.
Kind of.
So like across here. So they go in there and they bring it up and out.
But yeah, discharged the same day. got a taxi home, was given only paracetamol and like some anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised. I thought they'd give you something strong, but
Dying for something stronger he was.
of course there was. But I didn't really need it. The pain, like, it was sore, but not outrageous pain. Like, the ball was sent for biopsy. That took about a week to do. We went back into the doctor then, who said, yeah, it was cancer. It was stage 1 mixed germ cell. Yes. But we'd have to do a CT scan then to see if it had spread anywhere. So I think another week went by, was it?
Yeah, so the biopsy confirmed that it was cancerous. It was mixed germ cell tumour, and that now that it was confirmed that it was cancer, we needed to check if it had been or spread anywhere else in the body. So they referred him for a CT scan.
Yeah, you had to wait about another week for the results, wasn't it?
You had to wait a week for the results of that.
The waiting around isn't nice. That's the hard part. The waiting for results is never a good thing. So you need to distract yourself doing that if you're ever in that situation. Don't dwell on too much, because whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. But we got the results on the day of my birthday, 21st of October. And we went out the night before to have a few drinks with some friends and kind of celebrate my birthday a bit. Had a few too many whiskies. It was a bit.
We thought we were going to be fine. Like
I'd convinced myself it was going to be fine and there would be no spread.
Because we were thinking positive.
Done. So I had a few drinks to celebrate, a couple of whiskies, a bit hungover the next day. Had to meet a specialist team of doctors.
We got brought into like a boardroom, is what I can only describe it as. Like, and it was like this big private room.
So I think I met with 3 doctors and a specialist nurse. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, and there was 8 of them on the panel.
Yeah, but I met 2 of them I think in person, and they kind of said, look, they brought up the the CT scan results on the screen, and pointed out one lymph node and said, this is enlarged. And like the way they said it, I didn't quite know what was going on at first, and they said, yes, it spread.
Instantly stage 2.
It was re-staged to stage 2, and then one lymph node enlarged. It was 1.4 centimeters, and for this they suggested 3 stages of BEP chemotherapy.
What does BEP stand for?
Shit, I was asked it before. Bleomycin, cisplatin, and I never read the 1D. I should have looked this up again. Anyway, it's 3 different drugs for chemotherapy, and they're lethal. They poison your body basically.
So because you now are going to have chemotherapy, you'll need to do
yes, I did skip a lot of things.
You'll need
So I need to do sperm banking.
Sperm banking.
Full bloods. Again.
Tumour markers.
And there was one more thing I had to do.
Pulmonary test.
Yes. So we have to do all of that in the one day.
I just want tea or water or anything. I'm going to ring and make all these appointments for you. Would you like to do them today so you don't have to come back to the hospital, or would you like to organise a different day? Like, the 2 of us were just like,
no brainer, do it now.
Now, if we can.
And I just used to breathe into this machine, and I was like, and I had a chum in my mouth, and for ages wasn't working. Man's like, sorry, have you a chum in your mouth? You need to remove this. I was like, yeah, okay, that's why it wasn't
you
working.
having a little munch, like.
But what should have taken 2 minutes to do, it took me 25 minutes. Every test, I had to do the blood test,
and
which I hate doing. Let's be clear now, because there's a lot of blood involved in all this.
These fear needles.
Yeah. So once I just can't look, I just put my arm out and look the other way. And I also had to do the sperm banking. Now, sorry, the sperm banking
was the next day.
I had to go see a doctor to arrange this and book it. So that was booked for the next day.
We spoke to the doctor and he explained everything to us though.
Yeah.
So we could travel, we could bring it home as well if we wanted.
Yeah, you give you a sample, it's kept for 10 years, it lasts perfectly, it's all proper. Sorry to jump back again, I keep skipping things. When they gave us the news that it had spread, both of us were like kind of like a bit upset, a bit crying, were we?
Obviously, like.
Yeah.
I start crying first.
And
you took your glasses off.
That's my thing. When I get upset or I'm trying to focus, I take my glasses off.
And his leg was going 90.
Yeah.
Leg was shaking and his glasses were on the table and tears ran down my face.
But the doctor goes, what are you crying for?
Yeah.
Why are you upset?
He looked at me and was like, why are you upset? The nurse handed me tissues and I was like, my husband's just diagnosed with cancer and now you're telling me that it spread to his abdomen and that he has to have chemotherapy.
But your man goes, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He has to do his treatment, but he'll be fine. He'll
Breast
survive
cancer,
this.
they kept saying. And actually that's a question you were asking me, the language barrier. Like it was perfect the whole way through, like a few things, but with a little bit of patience.
We just need to be more simple in the way you speak sometimes. But so jump back to where sperm banking. So you had to do sperm banking in the main hospital here. Trying to find that was a nightmare because it's hidden.
It's hidden away.
It's hidden down some back alley to get out this way, that way. It looks like it's a delivery area, and you knock on this like secret like mirrored door.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and the office is tiny and pokey, and there's one big nurse guy sitting there stuck behind this desk, and then there's a room over the other side to go in to produce the goods.
It was tiny, and Jack went into the room and I was waiting outside.
You're given a little sample jar with like your label across it.
But I could hear you in the room rustling around.
Yeah, but it was just this like, you go into this room and it's just this kind of big clunky chair, you know, like these hospital chairs with the leather.
Like you wouldn't be getting any
It was like some old machine like with a dust sheet over. It was like some storeroom basically.
Yeah, you wouldn't be getting any luxury here in the Middle East for sperm banking. Like there wouldn't be any like little red tube videos or whatever, but like
took a few minutes.
Took a few minutes. You're in there for about a minute and a half.
Okay, anyway, I did the deed.
You did the deed, but you came out. I remember when you came out, he had it wrapped like in like loads of the tissue, so it was like this size. Everyone went to see it. There was nobody else there when you ran. So it was like wrapped in like loads of tissue. So it was like this size because he'd put so much tissue around it. Handed it to the guy, he couldn't find your label, and I was like, make sure you fucking put the right label on that.
Then
like,
he made a joke about putting his own label on it.
I will put mine. He goes, I will put mine into the thing, and you will have big surprise in a few months' time.
Just an Indian guy. Like
yeah.
So the chemo was 3 cycles of BEP. Each cycle lasted 3 weeks, so a total of 9 weeks altogether. Side effects: the hair was gone, the beard was gone. My appetite was insane. I put on a lot of weight. I was about 89 kilos at my heaviest. Tired all the time. Couldn't sleep. Broken sleep all the time. Constantly getting up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet. So pure exhausted. When I get home from the daycare each evening, I'd sit on the couch and just sit there. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything. I had to get things handed to me. I had to be told what to do, what to get up, what to.
And your head was very foggy. Like I remember, like we'd be walking.
Yeah, the chemo brain was horrendous. I couldn't do simple things in my head. I couldn't like maths and stuff. I couldn't.
Yeah, or we just walking
if you
somewhere.
Asked me a question, I couldn't.
And you just walk through the way, and I'm like, where are you going? You're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a strange one. I didn't know about that coming. That it was strange. Even like reading, if you're reading something, I couldn't. It just didn't go in. Like I used to play the Xbox all the time. I couldn't play the Xbox because I couldn't focus. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Simple things you just couldn't do. That was the chemo brain. That was a weird one. But I think I've done alright side effect wise.
You did. Yeah, you're very lucky that you didn't have nausea.
The diarrhea stuff they warn you about.
Yeah.
No, I was fine.
The
I
main
consider
ones
myself quite lucky now.
Yeah.
The hair was traumatic losing that, but.
And the exhaustion, and like that you said about feeling like a sick person.
Yeah, I was aware of my appearance. I looked sick. I felt sick. I was pure bald. I was grey looking in the skin and the face, kind of yellowy tinge.
You kept asking me, do I look like a cancer patient?
Yeah.
Do I look like I'm having chemotherapy?
Going outside wasn't great. If I only really wanted to go to the daycare and come home and not go out. Like going, I think we went to a mall once or twice. We went for dinner. I never enjoyed it because I was fully aware of how I looked. I remember we went somewhere as well and they told me to take my hat off. Remember?
Oh my god, yeah.
I wasn't happy with that. They wouldn't let me in without taking my hat off. But look, complaints wise, I can't really complain. Like
no.
I consider myself quite lucky in terms of how the chemo affected me. I take tiredness. I'll take the chemo brain over having daily diarrhea and vomiting like some people have. So yeah, I've done alright.
And like that, you were lucky with work that you weren't having to get up.
No,
like we don't have kids. Like Jack, we just have each other here. Like
my only job was to get up in the morning, go to this, come home, eat, rest, go to bed, get up and do it again. That's all I had to do. So it was great. So the chemo was done. That took 9 weeks. We had a few visitors in between. My mum came twice.
Yeah.
Big help.
Amazing help.
Jesus.
Because I was working still, and like my hours in work are so long, like, and
because the first week I managed by myself. You came for 2 days. The rest I done by myself. I was fine. The first cycle. My mum came for the second and third cycle. I couldn't have done that without somebody there, without her being there. So, the simple thing, like I said, the chemo brain. I couldn't make decisions. I wouldn't know when to get up or what to do and where to go. So yeah, having her there was a huge help.
It was amazing because it meant that I could still work, and do you know what I mean? She was there to support Jack while I could actually keep things going for us here, because obviously we both have our jobs here and we wanted everything to be there for us at the end of this as well, so we can continue on, do you know what I mean, with our life here. Like, we'd only started our life here. Like, Jack's only here 6 months and all this had happened, so like we needed to make sure that at the end of this we still had what we'd worked really hard to get, like.
And then the last 2 weeks of cycle 3, your mum and brother Maura and Alan came over, and Aoife came over as well, Louise's friend. So we had a lot of people around, all staying here in the apartment with us.
It was a madhouse.
I was in fell humour at this stage, all the time. You agreed?
No.
By the end I was fed up.
He was really, really, really pissed off and just
everyone
angry.
Was wrecking my head.
He was really angry. What do you mean?
No one's fault, but yeah.
He was very angry.
Everyone.
And everything he seen, like.
Because the reason I was pissed off is because at the end of cycle 1, at the end of cycle 2, I felt okay. I was able to go for drinks. I was able to function. But by the end of cycle 3, I was bollocks.
And Jack loves Christmas. It's his favourite time of year.
Yeah, that upset me as well. And I had to get 1 infusion on Christmas Eve, and my very last infusion on New Year's Eve. Shit days for it. Was it New Year's Eve?
You had a couple of urgent care trips as well, because his immune system would drop to a certain level that they would call us, because his bloods were tested every week before he would start chemo to make sure everything was okay, and he was strong enough to continue with the next cycle. So
twice I had to get
they found
to get an immune boosting injection.
So like rushed into urgent care.
To me, an immune boosting injection sounds okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like an okay thing. Fucking killed. Remember, they'd inject into your arm, and they say you may feel some bone ache from this.
Oh,
my whole body was aching for days after. Twice. That wasn't nice.
Yeah, your back and all was sore.
Yeah, they have to give this injection so that your immune's at a certain level that it can take the chemo that will bring it back down again. So it's a weird way of working, but yeah, I had to get that twice. But anyway, my last chemo was on the 31st of December, and we went out for brunch, New Year's celebration that day.
Yeah, we went for dinner, like the night brunch thing.
I managed it well. I think I even had a few drinks, and I survived the night, didn't I?
But it was still like, it's meant to be a time of year obviously that we had family over, like my mum, my brother and my friend, and like I remember like we just wanted to celebrate and everything was finished and it was going to be great and we were being positive and stuff, and I just kept looking at Jack and just seeing his face, and I just knew he just was so exhausted, but he was pushed himself because we had people there and he just wanted it to be a nice time. And
but I loved my worst at this stage.
But our visitors knew, and they were just like, "Is he all right?" And I was like,
and that annoyed me as well, because it's not fair, but everyone looking at me and asking me constantly how you are, and that just wound me up as well. I just want everyone to fuck off, like. But look, everyone has your best interest in heart, but at the time you can't really see that. They get under your skin and they're winding you up and
everything, and he was so irritable. Everything annoyed him. If I asked him how he was, stop asking me how I am. Anyone asks him how he is, oh, she asked me how I am. Do I not look alright? And I'm just like, oh my god.
And people were texting and ringing me, and again, they just wanted to know how it was. I ignored everyone.
He ignored a lot of people. I
wouldn't reply to anyone's messages. My phone was hopping every day. It
freaked me out. Like you would loads of messages on your phone.
I took the phone and I'd show on the other side of the bed or the couch, and I'm not looking at that.
Because you're very angry as well.
I'm sorry to anyone I never replied to. I got back to most people, I think, but some people didn't get a reply, and I'm sorry. I was just in a bad place. So I got the all clear. Good news. It had worked. The chemo had worked. It had shrunk in size. So I was clear. I went back to work about 2-3 weeks later after this, part-time, a few hours every day, just to kind of ease myself back into it. I was in the back office. I was away from everyone because I was still
Immune system
was still low, so I couldn't really be in front of people. That lasted about 2 or 3 weeks in work until lockdown happened, and I was one of the first to be sent home because I'm high risk with my low immune system. So work was short lived. I was obviously then home for
6 weeks.
6 weeks, which didn't help my mind, because that's the part they don't tell you about, is the life post chemo, because you're so used to going in and out of hospital and seeing doctors and nurses and being told what's happening, how you're feeling, what's this,
His
what's
life
that.
had become hospital and chemo, that your body now is starting to heal itself because it's not having all these drugs. So you're in post chemo mode, and you've got a lot of post chemo side effects happening to your body.
Your body's recovering because it's been poisoned and blasted and destroyed on the inside to kill this cancer. So my body was recovering, still is recovering now, but I was feeling lots of different things coming and going, pains here, pains there, tingles in this arm, shooting pains here. I didn't know what was going on. I was freaking out a lot of the time. I ended up back in hospital 2 or 3 times to see my doctor, to say what's this, what's that, check this.
And the A&E, the urgent care.
Yeah.
You had ultrasounds,
blood's taken. God knows how many times I had an ultrasound.
What was your fear though?
That it was coming back. I kept convincing myself, I kept telling myself it's come back, it's come back, it's come back, it's spreading, it's here, it's there, it's...
I remember you kept saying to me, you're like, I feel like I'm going to die. It's going to kill me and I die.
I got that bad at one stage, I thought I was going to die. So I got ultrasounds, I got tested, I got this. Everything came back clear, everything came back negative, nothing wrong with me.
Every time you went back, the doctor was so understanding, like, you know what I mean? You weren't dismissed as in like, no, you've got the all clear, go away, like.
He understood where I was coming from. So eventually he said to me, I'm 99% sure there's nothing wrong with you right now, but we will do a full PET scan, which is basically scan the whole body to put your mind at ease. By the time that scan came around, I was feeling a lot better physically and mentally, but I did it anyway, just to do it. And I got the results of that about 2 days later, which was about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And obviously that was clear. The doctor even said he had some specialists check it. He was the best at reading these things or something.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing there. So
he said, in the meantime,
he said, take a holiday, take a break, relax, enjoy your life. There is nothing to worry about. I will see you in a few months' time. He didn't want to hear from me again. No,
he said see in 3 months. Yeah, he was just, the PET scan was nearly done. Real, I told you so, you're fine. But they obviously had to do it because some of the symptoms that you were describing could have been other things, but it was still all the neuropathy and
the nerve damage mostly put it down to.
Exactly, and your body.
But like I said, these are things that you're not really told about post chemo life, how to deal with these things, how to.
It's definitely like it's like a PTSD. Like it's like you said, you're on autopilot the whole time that you were going through your diagnosis, your operation, your chemotherapy. That it's
I just saw the end game, the end goal of getting the chemo done and beating it. I never thought of what I was going to do after, how I was going to deal with it or anything. So yeah, PTSD is kind of a good way to describe it. It all kind of hit me after I was finished, what I'd been through, what I was diagnosed with, what had happened. So it was tough, but I'm here now. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling healthy physically and mentally. Still in a lot of pain sometimes, but I know what it is. I know what it is now and I know how to deal with it now.
Because you are going to your doctor, you're communicating with your doctor, which brings us back to the very beginning of actually going and getting checked and making sure that all these things are normal, whether it's a pain here or a feeling there, how important it is to go and get these checked. Because if you didn't go and get things checked, God knows where you would be now or what stage you would be at now. And then like that, for your mental state after chemo and after your results that it's shrunk to a certain size that it's all good, where would you be mentally if you didn't go back to the doctor and say, like, I'm having these feelings, I'm having this feeling, I think it's coming back? You'd have just, like, I've never seen, like, it was so, the last few months were harder than when Jack was going through chemo, because I was trying to keep him positive and tell him, you're fine, it's gone, you're fine, it's gone. But he just wouldn't listen to what I was saying. Nothing I could say was right, everything I said was wrong, we were fighting all the time. Like he would convinced himself that the cancer was coming back and it was going to kill him.
Yeah, I thought I was dying. I thought it spread and it was growing inside me. That's how bad I got it. That's the power of the mind. What some call it, it's a dangerous weapon in your mind. And you need to talk, you need to see someone, you need to get help. So I'm glad I did, and now, as I say, I'm in a good place now.
And what are you doing for help?
Speaking to someone.
Speaking to someone. Who are you speaking to? Counsellor.
Speaking to a counsellor.
Yeah.
And it helps.
And
Big
it helps.
time.
So you do a Skype. He does a Skype call from home because
Every
obviously
week
we live in the Middle East.
I speak to a woman back home, and she's been a big help to tell me how to deal with these things when I do feel these aches and pains and everything. How to deal with them and not let them consume me and take over my day and take over my life, because that's what they were doing to me. So when I do feel these aches and pains now, I remind myself they're just part of my body recovering, and it's not what I think it is, because I know they're not, because I've been checked. So yeah, speaking to someone is a big help, and if you're in the same position I am now at this stage post chemo, speaking to someone's a big help.
It's not just as easy as getting your diagnosis and saying like, okay, you're going to do this, blah, 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 then now you've got the all clear, see you, bye now, good luck,
All the best.
Get on with your life. You know, you think that's what you want, and obviously it is what you want, but at the end of the day, it's not as easy as that.
It's not so simple now. I wish it was, but it wasn't. And now going back to work was a big help as well.
Yeah.
Back into normal routine, working normal hours, working daytime, speaking to people. That's been a big help as well.
Coming home for treatment, did you ever think about coming home for treatment?
Never crossed my mind.
We weren't sure, like at the beginning, like we said, we were kind of got the second opinion. We wanted to get the private clinic to give ourselves a bit of a few options.
It all happened so quickly here, so it never really gave it much thought, because all of a sudden you're being scheduled for surgery, next thing you know you're being scheduled for classes, follow-ups.
It was so fast and so efficient.
Done, and next thing you know I'm doing the chemo, so
fast.
Coming home was never
really
crossed my mind.
So fast, so efficient that we actually didn't, it was quicker just to do everything here than it would have been to even start pricing flights to come home, basically. How did you stay positive? You focused on,
like you said, I was in autopilot. I felt most of the time. Yeah, I was in bad form sometimes, but mostly I saw what I had to do. I had to get through this to feel better, and that's what kept me going, really.
As a partner, what to look out for? I would say mood changes. Like Jack obviously didn't tell me at the beginning that he was worried, so I feel like going forward it's something that probably just to ask each other, like, you know, when are you booked in for your next checkup, or to make the subject not taboo and to make the subject something very normal and have it as a general conversation.
Because even at work I say to lads, oh, you're checking yourself, and they're like, oh, and they like think I'm joking. Like, no, honestly, you're checking it. Yeah, no, I do check. So
it can be like that. It's not just to look out for
it's lumps. Not always lumps and bumps as my case.
So any changes whatsoever, if you feel any changes in yourself,
but even check yourself and become familiar with how they feel. So then if all of a sudden it does feel different, you know, just check it every few days, every week or so when you're in the shower. Just have a quick feel and become familiar how they're meant to feel.
Best way to support someone going through it? It's a very hard question, because I think a lot of people are very different. Some things I thought Jack would be appreciative of, he hated. Some things that, you know, I didn't think he'd want, he did want. So I don't think until you're going through it and there's the person that you're supporting, it's very hard to answer. I just made things as easy as I could. What would you say I'd done that was helpful?
Meals and stuff like that, that's a big help. Having stuff, it makes you sound lazy, but having stuff handed to you, food and drink, and having stuff done for you that you just wouldn't have the energy to do. These kind of things are huge help. Having meals prepared to bring in the next day for chemo, these things are the best.
What's involved in the follow-up?
Bloods, CT, physical exam every few months. My next checkup is in 3 months' time, and it'll be 3 months after that, and then it gets pushed out the longer you go on, basically. But every 3 months for now. As a partner, did you feel helpless? Same as you.
Very. I found it really, really difficult that I couldn't fix things, because I'm a fixer, and if there's a problem, I'm like, right, we need to do this, and it would be fine. And I felt that because I couldn't control the situation, I couldn't fix it. That really got to me. So yeah, I did feel helpless.
But you weren't.
But I wasn't.
You weren't.
And like that, you know, the hospital had everything under control, so I just needed to be there for Jack, and that was my main job.
Just being there was enough. What kept you going even on bad days? Jesus, it's a loaded one. What kept me going was knowing what the point of all the chemo was. It was to make me better and to make sure I could live. That sounds quite dramatic, doesn't it? Live. But yeah, no, that's what it was. It was the chemo was to kill this cancer inside me and make sure I could live my life. So I just, as weird as that sounds, that's what got me going, because I knew what the goal of all this was. My future, yeah, my life, our future together. So even the bad days, it was shitty bad days, but
what annoyed you?
Everything sometimes, everything and everyone.
Everything and everyone, Jesus
Towards
Christ.
the end, yeah. Everyone wound me up. You did, the nurses did, the doctors did, the taxi men bringing me there, the rows I had with taxi men, yeah, it just wasn't their fault, but I just had to scream at some people, so.
He was very angry about everything, and the whole situation pissed him off, and he'd look at people that weren't going through it, or people moaning about little things.
Yeah, that's a good one actually, I forgot about that. People complaining about simple things wound me up, because I thought, you have no idea what I'm going through, but that's not fair either, because
everyone's problems is their own.
Everyone has their own problems. But yeah, those kind of things wound me up at the time. People complaining about the most mundane, stupid things ever, like, yeah, that kind of shit annoyed me. Do you now
have a different outlook on life?
Big time. My priorities have changed, and what's important to me and what's not important. I don't get as annoyed by things that would have annoyed me in the past. Especially in work, and since I'm back to work, I don't get, like, if there's, how do I describe it? It's not so much I don't care, but I'm not as bothered or as phased. I'm a bit more laid back. I'm kind of taking it every day at a time at the moment. I'm not thinking too far ahead. I'm not worrying about things in the future, about future scans or checks or anything. I'm just taking each day as it comes, and a bit more
going with the flow.
Just going with the flow. And
just not getting wound up over small little things, and just trying to live in the moment, really.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Did people treat you differently?
Some yes, some no.
You didn't. I remember you telling me you didn't want to be treated.
I didn't want to be treated, but I didn't see a lot of people either but I was afraid of that happening, thankfully.
Did people get awkward with you?
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, not really. Now in work, some people kind of are weird to talk about it, which I don't like, and I make it clear to them that it's fine to talk about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, during your sick time when you were off, like, you mean when I was off with cancer, like, and doing chemotherapy, like, that time. So yeah, no. Some people do get awkward about it, which I understand, because we've all been there, like,
but you want to make it okay to speak about it. You don't want it like that again to be a taboo subject, that it's embarrassing or anything. It's like,
because I work with a lot of guys in that age bracket that it can affect, so
yeah.
I want it to be a normal conversation, like, and to ask him about it. So hopefully.
How do you check your balls?
We talked about this before. The way I've seen it, the way I've done it is with the index finger, or the second finger as well, and the thumb, and get the one ball at a time and kind of roll it around in your fingers. Mm-hmm. And this way you can cover all of it, and you'll feel anything that stands out, lumps, bumps, hard, risen, whatever, like. But as I check this all the time, not all the time, because if you overdo it, like I did before, you'll
maul yourself into swelling.
Yeah, but just check it once a week, every now
shower.
and then. Your shower's always a good time, because whatever the heat needs, kind of
The lubrication of the water.
whatever works. But showers always a good way. And just roll around and just become familiar with it. Know how it feels. Know every shape and size of it. And then if God
there are
forbid there is a
changes,
change, it'll be quite apparent to you quick
that
enough.
you can say that, oh, that wasn't like that last month, or I don't remember feeling that before.
Yeah. And if you do discover this, go get checked. That's always the stock answer to these questions. What do I do? What do I do? Go see your doctor. Go get checked. Don't be afraid. It's normal. And yeah,
Just don't be nervous.
don't be afraid.
Speak about it. If you're worried about something and you say, should I get myself checked?
Speak to a friend, speak to a colleague, speak to a partner, speak to a sibling, a parent, anyone. Speak to anyone about it. Don't keep it inside like I did, because you'll drive yourself mad. I kept it a secret for weeks, and they were the most horrific time of my life. And when I was told what was wrong with me and told what we were going to do, I felt relief. I felt relief to be told there was something wrong with me, but I felt relief that it was in the open and I was doing something about it, as strange as that sounds. So don't keep it to yourself. Speak about it and get help. That's the most important message I can give. Yeah. I think that's it.